If these gun laws worked, if this gun control was effective, why aren't you safe? Because it's a lie, and you're supposed to obey. And people like Representative Sheila Jackson Lee, who we have covered before, is an idiot. She is telling you these lies so that you will just obey. Remember when she said that under HR 127, she said that having an M16 is like carrying something that weighs 10 boxes. I don't even know what that means. That's not a measurement of weight. I don't know what she thinks 10 boxes weigh, but obviously it's more than what a 12-year-old can carry. She's weaker than a 12-year-old because 12-year-olds carry M16s and can fire them. She says it fires an again, I want to show you this. According to Sheila Jackson Lee, where is it? There it is. She thinks that an M16, which fires this bullet, is firing that bullet. This is the lie they want you to believe. And they promise that you're going to be safe because you will feel safe. And I wish that was the worst thing that they were doing. Mike Bowie mentions they want us completely dependent on the government for everything. Well, of course they do. Because the government has more power. That's what the ATF is doing. That's what we see with the FBI under Merrick Garland. They have a separate set of rules for you and not them. They don't have to worry about a smoking ban. You do. They don't pay taxes. You do. They get armed security. You don't. You don't even get police. They want to defund the police. They get to protect themselves. You can't even wear a bulletproof vest. That's in New York State. You can't wear a bulletproof vest. That's a crime. It's illegal to passively protect yourself. And I wish that was the only thing. They have all these different rules for what they want versus what you want. Sheila Jackson Lee has gone at this on the screen. You probably haven't heard about it. There's an Afghan soldier, a guy who fought for the United States in Afghanistan, and he is an illegal alien. He broke the United States law. He tried to illegally come into America. Now, the news story from the Texas Tribune says that this guy who they call Wasi, he crossed 3 different continents to come to America to be with his brother, who legally is a naturalized citizen. That this guy crossed 3 different continents and he tried to come into America to be with his brother. And we should feel bad for him, except he's a criminal. He broke the law. He broke the law. Now, I understand. They make this very minimal in this story. The Texas Tribune doesn't want to mention that the Biden administration abandoned all the Afghanis who worked with America for 20 years, for 2 decades. And he just abandoned them, along with 5,000 Americans who are still in Afghanistan 2 years later. They don't want to talk about that because then you'd say Biden failed. No, they don't want to touch that. But they want you to feel bad for this guy. Now, because Sheila Jackson Lee wants this guy to enter America, to break the law, and not have a criminal record. Because she wants him, she doesn't want the rules to apply to Wasi, because she doesn't want the rules to apply to this illegal immigrant. We have to change the rules. We have to give him an exception. Look, this is power. This is the difference between the elites and you. Because she likes that one guy. There are 5 million people that tried to enter America illegally since Joe Biden has been in office. We have 250,000 people a month trying to illegally enter America. We have caught at least 6 terrorists trying to enter America illegally since Joe Biden has been in office. And she wants to change the rules for one guy. You mean there is no other person who is trying to enter America illegally that doesn't have a family member, that isn't someone who's a good guy or a good woman who have tried to protect people and save lives, that none of them matter, just who she likes. This is about her preference. This is about Sheila Jackson Lee using her power to do what she wants. Because we should be answering the problem about the border. We should be dealing with the 250,000 people a month, the hundreds of thousands of children who are being abused because they are being sent by themselves with sex slave gangs and drug dealers to travel 1,000, maybe 2,000 miles on foot to enter America. She doesn't care about them. She doesn't care about those children or that child abuse or those sex slaves. She cares about this one guy. One guy. She doesn't even care about the Americans that were abandoned in Afghanistan. She doesn't care about the Afghanis who worked with America for 2 decades. She cares about one guy. And she wants the rules to change for that one guy because she says so. That's the reality of what we are dealing with. Is that not insulting? Isn't that a problem? Tell me how that is not autocratic, a dictatorship. How that is stripping away. She is a member of Congress. If she wants people like him to come into America, change the law. Go to your constituents, get their support, write up a law, and change the law. But she knows Americans don't want open borders. So she won't change the law. She won't even try to change the law. She's just going to use her power for her benefit. That's an abuse of power. Look, I understand that this guy, Wassi, is probably a good guy. He fought with American soldiers for 2 decades, helping us fight against ISIS, the Taliban, and Al-Qaeda. And he was abandoned unjustly. He was thrown to the wolves, along with 5,000 American citizens, by the Biden-Harris administration, running away like a scared child, which has had consequences across the world. It's only after America ran away from Afghanistan that Putin said, oh, I'm going to invade Ukraine. It was only after Biden ran away and forced the troops to run that the Taliban got tanks and helicopters and money and power. It was only after Afghanistan that North Korea started firing missiles like they're candy. It's only after Afghanistan that Japan and South Korea lost all confidence in America. These things are all connected. But Sheila Jackson Lee doesn't care about any of that because she's not trying to fix any of those problems. She just wants to help one person that she likes. My God, the bias that woman has. And by the way, this guy's getting taken care of. You know, they have raised $915 for this guy. They want to get $100,000 to give this guy a dentist because he's a criminal, because he broke our law. This is the reward. They have convinced people that breaking the law means you deserve to get rewarded. They are trying to raise $100,000 on GoFundMe to give Wassi Safi, a guy who broke our law, your money. They want you to give him money for breaking the law so that Sheila Jackson Lee will feel good. Does that make sense? Is anyone trying to give you money to pay for your bills? Maybe you're a mom, maybe you're a dad, you're in a family, you have kids, you're raising your kids, you're feeding your kids, you're sending them to school, the kid is doing well. No one's trying to help pay your bills. No one's trying to pay for this channel. I lost a dozen websites that I had because I can't pay the bill. I've had this channel shut down. I've had my phone shut down in the last 2 years because I don't have the money. I'm not rich. And yeah, I do have a PayPal and I say, please donate to me. But I'm not getting the money that BLM got. They got $90 million. They bought 6 mansions. Sean King got $40,000. He got over $100,000. He spent $40,000 on buying a pet dog. They want to give $100,000 to this one illegal alien, as New York City wants to spend $1 billion, $60,000 each on illegal aliens to make them comfortable. But you don't get anything. You get to pay for it. Dow says, just another acknowledgement that we are in a period where there are globalist forces leading the way to reinstate feudalism, and the general populace are serfs. I've said that many times. These are neo-nobles, and they're treating us like peasants and serfs, that we are peons. And this is an example of it. Because On High, Sheila Jackson from On High, is decreeing that she has made a decision for this one guy. And the hundreds of thousands, including 5,000 Americans, they don't matter. Don't think about it. Don't ask a question. Obey. Obey her because she said so. Because she's never wrong. She's never gotten it wrong when she talks about gun control. She doesn't ever make mistakes because she always knows what she's talking about. And Representative Sheila Jackson Lee is also the same person who is telling you that she's going to protect you from white supremacy. This is H.R. 61. She just put this through on January 9th of 2023. Leading the Way Against White Supremacy Act of 2023. Let me say this. Representative Sheila Jackson Lee is a racist. I'll say it again. Representative Sheila Jackson Lee, who is this woman, this black woman, is a racist. And if you think black people can't be racist, well then, let me read to you what her bill does. And you should care about this, whether you're white or not, you should care. H.R. 61, to prevent and prosecute white supremacy-inspired hate crime and conspiracy to commit white supremacy-inspired hate crime, and to amend Title 18 United States Code to expand the scope. I want to read this to you. I want you to hear this. It's here. This is how simple it is. I don't have to go any further than the description of this. My God, you need to pay attention to this, folks. You need to clip this part and share it with your friends. And I'm going to get back to the comments in a second. A person engages in white supremacy-inspired hate crime. So you've committed a crime when white supremacy ideology, whatever that might be, has motivated the planning, development, preparation, or perpetration of actions that constituted a crime or were undertaken in furtherance of that activity, if effectuated, would have constituted crime. Keywords here. If you do anything, if a crime happens, this doesn't need a crime. You are guilty. According to Sheila Jackson Lee, you are guilty of a crime because she said so. You didn't actually commit a crime. There is no crime that actually happens. But if they think that they don't like your ideology, the way that you think, the way that you speak, well, that might one day possibly lead to a crime. So therefore, it is a crime. This is groupthink. This is the government saying that if you think the wrong way, you are a criminal. And that is insane. If you don't think the way that Sheila Jackson Lee wants you to think, you are a white supremacist and a criminal. This goes back to Joe Biden at Philadelphia in his Reichstag speech, saying that if you are MAGA, you want to make America great. If you don't agree with him, if you have any question, then you are a domestic terrorist. You are a problem. You are the problem if you don't obey. My God, this is upset. Please clip this part and show this to everyone. Go to the links in the description and read this for yourself. You don't need to go further than the first thing. It is a crime to not think the way that they want you to think, that Sheila Jackson Lee and Joe Biden want you to think. If you are not a progressive and don't think like a progressive, you are a criminal. And please, don't think that this is limited to just white people, okay? Because it's white supremacy ideology. That can mean make America great again. That could be an America First policy. That could be being a patriot. Maybe you're part of the Tea Party. Maybe you believe in freedom of speech. Maybe you're someone that Twitter has been suppressing for years. Maybe you're someone who got kicked off of YouTube or Facebook for talking about vaccine mandates, or you were talking about taxes, or you were talking about not funding the Ukraine, or you're concerned about what's happening in Iran, or with Taiwan, or with South Korea, or Japan. That's all white supremacist ideology. Maybe you don't think gun control has been working. Maybe you think that Maryland is out of its mind for telling women that they can't defend themselves in public. That means you're a white supremacist. According to HR 61, you're a white supremacist. If you are a woman, or if you know a woman as an example, and I'm using women as an extreme example here, but I know there are millions of women. In fact, in 2021, 5 million women registered to have a handgun to protect themselves. Democrats and liberals. In fact, it was 40% of all women in 2021 that got a handgun were black women trying to protect themselves from the crime in cities that Democrats have allowed to go on. 40% of every person, all new gun owners in 2021 were black women. And they are saying to those women, you should be defenseless. They're saying that in New York State, they're saying that in Maryland, and they're trying to say it in every single Democrat state. You don't get to protect yourself in public. And they are telling you that if you want to protect yourself in public, you are a white supremacist, because that is a white supremacist idea, and therefore you are a criminal. In fact, and you say, well, Mike, how can you make that decision? How can you possibly say that? Again, going back to HR 61, reading at the bottom of the bill, the criminal offense, they are changing the wording to say that instead of saying because of a hate crime because of race, color, religion, national origin, or of any person, it's simply white supremacy. White supremacy against any person. They're changing the words. Let me get to some of the comments here. And again, if you disagree with me, if you think I am wrong, if you think HR 61 and Sheila Jackson Lee are absolutely right and they are protecting you as a woman, as a person who lives in a high crime area, as an American citizen, if you think I am wrong, call in 607-242-9247 or leave a comment. Tell me why I am wrong. Tell me how this will help people not abuse the power of the government and harm you, target you, and punish you for not committing a crime, for just thinking differently. Remember, it says if effectuated. You don't have to commit the crime. They just have to think you did. They just have to accuse you of thinking the wrong way. And you are a criminal, and you will be punished. So let me go back to the comments. So Dow says, those activist projects that get all the money kind of confirms that the donors believe that if they divest their wealth into the righteous system, they will reap some kind of status boon that will benefit them and offer them protection. not realizing that the tithe they are willing to give up is the means by which they will divest themselves of any means to really survive, and they will be called first. I spent 4 years ago, I asked Twitter to give them money so that I could tell people that we were having a Sunday weekly program. And they said, oh, we'll get back to you. 4 years later, they decided not to suppress me and saying, oh yeah, those ads you wanted to talk about in 2007 and 2019, yeah, now you can talk about them. You're free. But that's because, and now that I'm getting that freedom to actually talk about things that I want to talk about on Twitter, not YouTube, not Facebook, not Google, but just on Twitter, now that they're starting to give me some freedom, here comes Sheila Jackson Lee, a complete and absolute racist, saying that if you don't think the way she wants you to think, that you are a white supremacist and you are evil. Dow says it's right in line with critical race theory. Everyone not compliant are inherently a white supremacist regardless of ethnic ancestry or culture. And I know that is true because at Broome County College, or SUNY Broome, I know for a fact that I've covered the program, which they provided materials telling kids that if you do not agree with critical race theory, well, that means you're a racist. Circular logic. If you disagree with critical race theory, that proves you're a racist. That's at our colleges in New York State, funded by your tax money. Now here comes Sheila Jackson Lee, who is trying to protect one illegal immigrant, someone who was caught breaking our law and wants to forgive them of all the problems. This is a woman who says that you cannot protect yourself, and women, especially black women. Since 2021, millions of black women who got their gun licenses, their licenses to protect themselves across America, no longer have the right to do so because they think different. She doesn't want you to have a gun, Sheila Jackson Lee. And if you want to be able to hold a gun, if you want to wear body armor, a bulletproof vest to passively protect you and your family, you are a racist, you are a white supremacist according to HR 61, and therefore it's a crime. This is the difference in the systems. You are a serf, you are a peon, you're just slightly better than a slave. You are meant to obey. What did George Carlin say? You're just smart enough to run the machines and too dumb to ask a question because they don't want to hear what you have to say. You better listen to them. Sheila Jackson Lee is evil. She has been getting more evil by year. For 17 years, I have been doing political commentary. And I tell you, year by year, Sheila Jackson Lee, as she has gotten older, has become more and more racist and evil. She is now 73, and this is like the pinnacle of her evil racist ideology. That is my opinion. So the censors, if you don't like it, you don't have to. Let me say this again. If you disagree with me, if you think HR 61 will protect anyone in America, if you think HR 61 will not be abused, if you think that this is a good idea to punish people for the way they think, not for a crime, but for thinking, then please call into 607-242-9247. Tell me why. Tell me how this will protect people, not punish them. How this will be how this won't be a weapon used against the American people. Just like Joe Biden wanted when he spoke to America in Philadelphia, as he said, with the full power of the government, and said, you better obey or else, because you're an enemy of the state if you don't obey. Tina says, how is this allowed to happen in America? Where are the Republicans, the ACLU? The ACLU agrees with the progressives. The ACLU actually supports Representative Sheila Jackson Lee. They think they're the good guys. They think this is a good thing for punishing people for the way they think. And in fact, Since you can't read minds and I can't read minds, and Sheila Jackson Lee certainly can't read anyone's mind, they're guessing. This is worse than the red flag laws, where someone can say, I think you're a danger to yourself and others. It's unconstitutional. It took, 5 years for that to become unconstitutional in New York State? Thank God. I've been fighting that since 2018, and it finally became unconstitutional because it's just someone saying, well, I think so. This isn't even going to, I think that you're a problem. This is saying, I think you might think different than I want, so you're a criminal. If there is a Democrat elected, anyone in America that would like to discuss this with me, if there's anyone in any country in the United Kingdom, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, Germany, France, India, Peru, Ecuador, these are some of the countries that I know watch this program. If anyone thinks that this is good, that this will save lives, call in. Tell me why. Because I can tell you, it's not going to do that. This is going to wind up having more people treated like January 6th prisoners. This is going to treat more people like the red flag victims. And when I say victims, I mean the 1,406 people in New York State that had red flags used against them. They're going to punish you. And by the way, that led to at least one person committing suicide. That is documented. It is a fact. This is going to harm people. This is a weapon. Thank God we can tell, in looking at this, and I'm going over it, so you can see there are 0 people in Congress that support this. There is no one except Representative Sheila Jackson Lee that thinks that this is a good idea. No one. Not one Democrat, not even the Progressive Caucus, not even Hakeem Jeffries, who is the leader of the minority of the Progressive Caucus, of progressives in Congress. Not even he thinks this is a good idea. AOC, Ilhan Omar, Jayapala, all of them, none of them, these are the craziest Democratic Socialists of America. They are socialists. Even the socialists think this is too far so far. At this moment, even the socialists don't want to touch this. It tells you how crazy and how far out of line this is. And there is no one in the mainstream media that is talking about this. There is no one in the mainstream media that will question Representative Sheila Jackson Lee and ask her how this isn't racist and abuse of power. No one in America, none of the mainstream media will touch this and say, this is a problem, this is a threat against American citizens. Not one of them will connect this to what Joe Biden said in Philadelphia when he was giving his Reichstag speech saying obey or else. Well, when you wondered, when he said obey or else, this is what he was talking about. HR 61. Here's it is. If you don't obey, you're a white supremacist, regardless of your color of skin, regardless of what you actually believe, and you are a criminal. I'm very upset about this. And I think you should be too. And I think more people should be talking about this. My God, I think we should have this. Where's the John Olivers talking about this? Where is Jon Stewart talking about this? Where's the ACLU talking about the freedom? No, that I guarantee you, if any of them talk about this, they're going to tell you this is a good thing because we got white supremacists are everywhere. No, they're not. In the 1970s, there were white supremacists all over the place. The KKK was all over the place. How do I know that? I was alive then. I'm 55 years old. Yeah, in the 70s, there was the KKK, and they were all over the place. And then they died off. They virtually disappeared. They didn't even come back when Obama was in office, which a lot of people were like, oh my God, there's going to be KKK and white supremacists everywhere because we have a black president. It didn't happen because the American people rejected that white supremacy. But today, you're a white supremacist not because you're part of the KKK. You're a white supremacist because you don't agree with Joe Biden or Sheila Jackson Lee, AOC, Cori Bush, and the Democratic Socialists of America. Because you aren't progressive, you're the bad guy. You have to be evil. By definition, you must be evil or else. And they're going to call you white supremacists not because you are, but because that's a great way to make you evil, so that no one will come protect you, so that no one will come to your side. Let me make this very clear if I haven't made it clear yet. I do not support white supremacy. I'm not a white supremacist. I'm not racist. I do not support white supremacy in any form. I do not support any ideology that coerces or forces individuals to make choices against their will. I do not believe in any form of racism, treating people different just because of the color of their skin, which means I don't support critical race theory. But that some people would say, well, that makes me a racist because I don't support critical race theory, which is stupid. I don't believe in classifying people or treating them differently because of the color of their skin, their sex, or their sexual preference. Can I make that any more clear? And in over 1,500 videos, in over 2,000 articles I have written over 17 years, in news interviews and in running for government, for elected office. I've run for Congress and county office. I have not, and all of the people who have researched it, BLM, Progressive Leaders of Tomorrow, members of Congress, I have had dozens upon dozens of organizations search through every word, the thousands of hours of content I have provided for 17 years, and they cannot find one racist statement I have ever made. They call me racist all the time. They can't find evidence. No race, not racism, sexism, anything like that. And yet, now they're going to label me and you and anyone who dares to disagree as a white supremacist. It's terrifying. And I guarantee you that actively, right this second, YouTube, Facebook, Google are suppressing this channel and this conversation because I am daring to say the words that Sheila Jackson Lee have put out there, because I am explaining the law to you. What she wants to pass, I am explaining to you, and I am explaining the consequences of what this will do. And that's the part they don't want. This is why they don't want you to hear this program or to have this conversation. Because I'm explaining the part they don't want said out loud. Well, you support this. You hate white supremacists, right? Well, then you have to support this bill. Really? I have to support it. Except you're going to label anyone you don't like, and you're going to punish them without ever committing a crime. That is authoritarianism. That is a dictatorship.